Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello! Oh, that's just too dark, isn't it? Shoot. I am trying to make this very easy to see everything for today's pants fitting, and of course, you know, I took it from, you know, fitting my Dawn jeans to giving a whole tutorial on how to fit jeans, because I know, I just have this feeling that people are really going to want to see that, and I wasn't really prepared to do that today. I'm going to cut a piece of paper. It might be a little loud. That was a little painful, huh? Good thing there's nobody downstairs today. Hello, Malin, Ursula, Serena, Mar, Cass, Deborah, Tanya. Wow, hello. Good to see you all. Do you guys want some more light? I think that more light would be kind of nice. I have my microphone way over here. Hello, Rebecca. I'm gonna turn the light on. I worked on making examples more than I worked on how the lighting and stuff works today. Hello, Bridget. Hey, Hannah. Hey, Barbara. Sydney. Wow, there's so many of you here today. Now I'm nervous. Hey, Penny. Okay, so, hi, Ray. All right, let me make sure I can see all of, there we go. I can see the whole chat now. Okay, so I have a lot of things to say about this. I think, hello, Emmett. Did I miss anybody? I feel like did I miss you, Tanya? No, I didn't miss you, Tanya. Welcome, welcome. I'm Sarami, by the way. And this is what I do. I live stream sewing and pattern drafting, fitting. You'll see mostly sewing, but I love doing the other stuff a lot, and I am a trained pattern drafter. Hello, Eliza. But that being said, I probably go about fitting a little bit differently than what you see tutorials and blogs for, and those aren't wrong at all. They are totally perfect. They're great. It's just that that's not how I was trained. I was trained to do this for the garment industry, which takes fitting, the approach to fitting is based on their size chart rather than custom fitting. And so you may not hear me use the same terms you see, like full tummy adjustment or flat seat adjustment or things like that. And there's nothing wrong with those. It's just because that's not what we labeled them. We just did the fitting adjustment. We just knew how to do it. Not like we divined it or anything. We were taught how to do it. So they didn't really label it that. And maybe they do now in design school. They most likely do, because it's convenient to use those kinds of terms. So I feel like I've done this before on camera. I've fit plenty of my jeans and pants, but it was never going to be I never did it as detailed as I'm going to try and do today. But that being said, I didn't approach this week of doing my Dawn jeans to do this, so I'm going to do my best today. So I want that kind of grace from you guys, and I'm going to do my best. And but I also think that this is going to be a really good exercise in figuring out what works to demonstrate and things. And I think the difference you'll find for me from some folks who fit is the way I approach it is that I look at how the fabric's reacting. I don't really just go, oh, I have a full tummy, I need a full tummy adjustment. But that's great too. So that what I'm trying to say is nothing's wrong. It's just you got to do what's right for you. So yeah, Libby, that's so interesting. I don't know why the Ash jeans fit me so well out of the envelope, because I do have some funny things with my body like everybody. And I think the thing I'm settling on with one of my adjustments is that I have a hip tilt, but I think it goes backwards, not forward. And I thought and so I would sometimes try and correct it by tilting my hips forward. That kind of gave me that indication. So you'll see sometimes that things pool on my back side, like garments at the waistline there, that the fabric just kind of settles there and kind of wrinkles. You can even see it in that Texas top a little bit. But honestly, that Texas top, it wasn't a bad fit. It didn't feel bad. I think there was adjustments I would do. And you can see it fits me better than my dress form, which is kind of funny. But when you scan for the dress form, you're wearing a layer of clothing and you're breathing. So that adds a little bit. And the foam is also far less forgiving than your gushy skin, you know. So there's that. Hello, Melinda. Hey, Barbara and Libby. Eliza again. Nice. Yeah, it's going to rain here too, which means it's not going to rain. California. All right, so I've been thinking about this for a couple weeks, and then more intently this week, and then very intensely since yesterday about how I could show this. And I've been like Googling pant forms, trying to find some sort of tabletop form. I even contacted Beatrice, and I was like, yo, how close are we to that pant form? You know, because I thought that would be such a great thing to have a tabletop version. And she replied, and she even sent me a video that is on their YouTube page for their efforts to create a custom pant form, because obviously that is probably what makes the sewing world go round, right? Like if anything were going to rotate the earth of the sewing world, it would be good fitting pants, right? I think we're all on the same page with that. And boobs and butts. So it got me thinking, and it was really cool because she showed me in that video, and she showed me fit photos and a message, because I'm in their Beatrice, what do you call it? It's the Beatrice Collective. It's like an online community for Beatrice owners, and not everybody has to have a Beatrice or anything to be a part of it. And so if you're interested in that kind of community, and because they give like draping tutorials and fitting tutorials, and there's like weekly challenges, monthly challenges. It's very casual, and everyone's super cool in there. I recommend it. I think it might cost a little bit per month, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. We were all kind of grandfathered in that already were part of it, and now it's kind of moving forward as a community for people focused on draping and fit. So I that's not like a pitch or anything. I'm just saying, like, I was messaging her there. She sent me a few pictures of her pant form and where they're at with it, and they obviously know the importance of this and they want to get it right. The problem is I won't even go into why it's a struggle right now, and plus they're really, really busy. But what was really cool was her pant form was only 1/2 of her lower body, so you could see her crotch curve, which was kind of cool. And the thing is, like, everyone really talks about the crotch curve, and in school and in pattern drafting, we never talked about the crotch curve more than any other element of fit. So I know people are really, really focused on getting the right crotch curve, and of course we want that, but don't think that that's the only aspect you need. Just put as much effort into that as you do the other things, and then all of it will eventually come together. And then you'll gain 5 pounds or you'll lose 5 pounds, and it might change a little bit, and that's okay, you know. I even wrote notes today. I never prepare like this because I'm nervous. I want to get this right. But I have a few things that I want to say. No. All right, let me see. I have sketches. I have all kinds of funny little things there. All right, so two of the first things I want to mention is I think we all know when we see bad fitting pants, right? But do we always know when we see good fitting pants? So here's how I feel about that, and I think this is where I might be in the more relaxed side of things. If they feel good, you're smiling, and you like wearing them, and you reach for them, that's a good fitting pair of pants in my opinion, because we all know how they feel when they don't fit that great, and that's the pair you don't really grab for. I have mine. I have my pants in my order of my closet, the ones I like to wear more, especially right now because I got that pandemic 20 going on, you know? So if I think, like, if I'm looking at the Dawn Jeans hashtag, let's put the Dawn Jeans in there. There are a lot of smiling faces in there. There's a few pairs I'm like, yeah, I don't think that fits that great. And I'm not going to pull up the hashtag and point those out for you because I wouldn't want to do that to those folks either, because they're smiling in those photos, and if they feel good, and you just never know, like lighting in photos and the way it casts shadows, like it's hard for me to even get good pictures in here because sometimes that shadow makes it look like a gigantic error when it's really not like that, you know, so shadows are pretty unforgiving, right? So I want you to bear that in mind. When you're looking at pictures of pants, you kind of know when it looks bad, but I think that we see really, really good fitting pants pretty rarely. And I'm not a harsh judge on that. I'm just not that kind of sewist. There are things like I'm a little bit more harsh about sleeve and bust fit than I am about pants fit. And I think it's just because I feel like the pants I've always loved the most to wear don't look as good on me as certain other pants do. And I don't know if that's your guys' experience either, but I feel like, you know what, I don't care. These feel comfortable. I feel like they're just on me and they're not moving around or shifting, and you know, nothing's going on. I really like that, and that's pretty valuable to me, and that's where I place my value, right? So, building onto this, here's one thing you really need to bear in mind. If you don't like some aspect of your body, that is different than not liking the fit of your pants. So you are probably going to struggle with fitting your pants if you're not so happy with certain elements of your body. And I think this is a really good exercise to kind of push through a little bit of that and be more content with your body, because it's moving you around, it's getting you place to place, and you're probably the harshest judge of all. So I'm not here to give a health lecture or a skinny versus fat, none of that. That's not about that for me. It's about trying to separate how you feel about your body versus what you're expecting your pants to do. If you're expecting your pants to make you look like Jennifer Lopez, and your body doesn't look like Jennifer Lopez, I'm sorry, that's a lot to ask of your pattern drafting abilities and your body. Okay, so I think that that's one thing. If you're looking at a pattern envelope or you're trying to copy a garment on the runway and you want it to look like that on you, try and pick something where you're picking something where the model resembles you. And for me, there's not a lot of models out there that resemble me. And so I think, like, I get back to that what puts a smile on my face thing. So that is kind of my gentle way of saying, you know, be kind to yourself and your expectations, because that is an extremely important thing. Just that little element of not expecting your pants to transform you into a version of yourself that you aren't. That it really takes the pressure off, because if you start just going, all right, whatever that looks like, how does it feel? And how is it hanging on me? And can I wear this with clothes in my closet? Am I going to grab this? You just took that off the board. You can still admire that person and the way they look and do what you want to try and achieve that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't think that trying to be something you probably aren't in the first place, it just places a lot of burden on your pattern drafting and anybody's pattern drafting ability. And I speak from full-on experience. Especially when I was younger, I would be like, that doesn't look like me. And I was like curvy Miss Curvy growing up, you know, and then those models were planks. So I don't know why I was putting that expectation on myself. I had to separate out. I'm not built like that, but I still wanted to look like that, you know? And that's a whole other conversation, right? So I think that that is just one thing to bear in mind, you know? Like, just go for good fitting pants. But what is a good fitting pair of pants? And I think that that's the thing you got to really focus on. And it's how it feels and how it hangs and how it works. Yeah. And I think it takes a long time to get there, Barbara. I really do. Because the thing is, you guys, like, I have to say, like, I don't talk about my body on here very much. I have my things with it for sure. I am not comfortable with where I'm at right now. But at the same time, I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. Because I'm just like, what the heck, you know? I'm like, I'm going to be 50 in a few weeks. Like, when am I going to stop worrying about this crap? You know? So, but at the same time, I want to be healthy. And I know for me, I'm not in shape. And for, like, not in shape as in how my body looks, but how it feels. Because, like, I had a back spasm recently, and I've been getting those the last few years. I stopped running. I used to be a very avid runner. Not a good runner, but an avid runner, and I was doing something, and I'm not doing something. And I think that's the thing I need to work on. I just need to do something, you know? So, yeah, I mean, that happens, Eliza, right? Yeah. So, I've been in that boat, Eliza. The 10-inch difference. And my bust was too. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to need a full tummy adjustment, but I do. And here's the thing. This is going to sound so cliche to say, but once you do that tummy adjustment on your pants and your pants fit, that tummy is not going to bug you nearly as much as it did before, because it looks good in your pants. Just saying that sounds like I just said a bunch of the same old words as usual, but really digest that, you know? Yeah, exactly. I do love that. I love Instagram hashtags for that very reason, Malin. And this is what I liked about Ravelry when I was on there a lot for knitting. I could look at sweaters on bodies that were like mine, and they had their measurements there, and I could be like, oh gosh, her measurements are even like mine. And then I would knit that sweater, and I would pass the one that I loved on the model, but I have boobs, you know? So all right, that's my little pep talk. I'm sure all of you are like, yeah. I know, but I think it's really important when it comes to pants fitting. All right, so let's get into the kind of the brass tacks of it. So, all right, let me make sure I'm caught up on chat, though. yeah, right, Sydney? Okay. And I think I actually do want to underscore that, like what Malin says. I think for me, that is it. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to make these Dawn jeans in a bigger size than I usually do. Because what if I lose some weight and I get back to all the ones I have in my closet? Great, what do? I'll have those. But then I'll also have this pair of jeans that will fit me on the days that I'm not that size anymore, and I'll feel great grabbing them, you know? Yeah, right, Sydney? Exactly. If you just relax it and you don't have the muffin top, yeah. Yeah, so I think, like, once your pants fit, it's almost like for me, when I was like, I guess I need a larger size underwear. I've never needed different size underwear in my life. And when I did it, I was like, oh my God, these are great. Let's get 10 packages, you know? And it was almost like, I don't notice the size difference anymore because they fit me. It's like they don't feel small anymore and they're comfortable. And you know what? Expecting like for a lot of people, expecting yourself to stay the same size your entire life isn't very realistic. You are not done growing for a really long time. And I remember like I didn't gain or lose weight in my early 20s, but my body rearranged. Like my hips got wider, my shoulders got broader, but I stayed the same weight, and all my clothes stopped fitting me. I couldn't wear jeans to save my life, you know? So, all right. So here's the other thing I wanted you to think about. And in fact, I kind of wish I would have, I know what I could do. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, so the body, when you're making your pants, and this is the same with the sleeve to the body, but with pants it's harder because it's really hard to like check out the fit down there, and there's two legs right next to each other, where at least your arms are on opposite sides of the body, right? So it's harder because it's really close between your legs. It's really hard to fit all that. So this is what you got going on. You have two legs and you have your torso. You have a circle above a circle. So you have this cylinder above a cylinder, right? I wish this was like flat. So I wonder if I can, this just isn't big enough. Right? That's a little bit more illustrative of what you got going on there. I thought that was one of my hairs, but it's this clear thread. You probably can't even see it. Oh, you can't see it on camera, but this is like fishing line thread, you know? That's awesome, Eliza. I love that. Oh, right, Deborah? I totally understand that. I totally understand that. I'm in the same boat, you know? So I haven't had weight loss surgery, but I plan to keep running. And I'm like, you know what? The thing is, here's the deal. Even if I lost 10 pounds, my clothes are still going to fit me. In fact, they'll probably just be a little bit more comfortable, right? So I try not to stress about the fact that almost my entire wardrobe is handmade by me. I've donated clothes in the past that were handmade, and it didn't faze me at all, and I may just have to do that again. All right, so here you got your torso, and you have two legs. So how you fit this and how you fit each of these, and then you combine them together, is what we're after, right? This seems kind of obvious, but once you start seeing it in the form of lines drawn on the body, you can kind of separate it out in your mind what you're focusing on and kind of tune out the rest, and don't think of it as a label or an amount or what to do. Think of it as how will the fabric hang the best in that one spot. So if we just focused on our leg, how is it fitting the thigh? And when you look at pattern pieces, and I'm sorry, mine are kind of all marked up because I was, the tissue paper was all wrinkly and it's kind of a nightmare. All right, so I really wish, I feel like in Big 4 patterns, it's more common that you will see these horizontal lines. And I don't think mine are in the right spot, to be honest. I just wanted lines on my pattern. The crotch line is in the right spot. So you absolutely need your length grain and you need your crotch line. And now the length grain is always perpendicular to the hem, if the hem's straight. If you have a angled hem, then yeah, I know it's not perpendicular to the hem. Your length grain is always perpendicular to the hem. And I see people ask this on Instagram, like, where do I put my length grain? Always perpendicular to the hem. So that is one of your like 0 points, meaning one of your points that's non-negotiable. Your other one is the crotch line. And that is perpendicular to the length grain here. And at the juncture of the crotch seam. So on the seam line. So remove the seam allowance, all right? Yeah, dresses, I feel like things without waists are kind of forgiving that way. You know, yeah, not super fitted. And knits, you know. But eventually you kind of run out and you want to sew more stuff. All right. So when you have these two lines, your crotch and your length, the other two you want is probably the fullest part of your thigh and then your hip. And so they don't put these on these patterns, and it kind of, it really bugs me. They had to have it to draft it, and I'm not sure why, because those lines are pretty much the same on pants. They don't grade up and down. They are kind of static, and so it's really helpful. There's also a knee line usually as well, and I just usually take the notch that's at the knee on a pattern to be the knee line. I don't know if it is though, because they don't put that and they don't write it. I probably should have put my camera on the other side today. I'm just going to move it over. It'll also then cover up the, because we have better light over here. Bye. I should just make a scene with this flipped, but I'd still have to move the camera. Oh my gosh, there's 57 people in here today. Hi. All right, so now you can see this pattern pretty good on here. So remember, you want your crotch line and then you want your grain line for sure, and then find your hip line and your thigh. And those are kind of the 4 lines that you should focus on with all of your fitting with your pant. Now today I'm really just going to talk about that area. I'm not going to talk about the knock knees or bow-legged or things like that. I'm just going to focus on these because I feel like these are the kind of the hot button issues. So, all right, so when I did my samples, I didn't draw my lines on the pattern. And so I tried to draw them. This is why I was a little late. I drew them on the samples after I sewed, and then retook my pictures this morning. And so this one is, okay, so what I did was I cut 2 and sewed 2. Now when you go to make a muslin or toile, prototype, sample, whatever you like to call it, what type of pocket would minimize bulging fat? I don't even know how to answer that, honestly. I'm not really talking about style lines today, but you can put a pocket stay, which is basically your hip pocket right here at your jeans. It connects to the center front, and then the pocket, you know, the usable pocket stays over here, but then you have fabric across here, and then that can kind of give you a little bit smoother tummy. So I don't know if that helps you, but I know like the ginger jeans, they have that, and I added it on to, was it the Ash jeans or the Ames jeans? I had that kind of cool way I sewed it. All right, so I want to tell you the pattern pieces you need to make your muslin. Just don't skip these, you guys, all right? I know. And I'll show you how I sewed my muslin as well, because it's really fast to do. It will only take you 10 minutes. You don't have to finish edges. These are not wearable things. We're going to cut these. We're going to draw on them, all right? So you're going to need your fly extension, the part that sticks out on one side. So here is my center front rise seam right here going all the way down. You need this part, see, because the waistband sews to it. And you also need it so that you can overlap and pin your fly shut. Okay, so you need that. You need your fly extension. Whatever jean pattern you're doing. You need your waistband, right? You need your yoke for the back. That was a big 14, isn't it? I like it. And then you're going to need your front and your back. And then for your front, you're going to take either your pocket lining or the pocket facing, that little curved pocket piece, and you're going to tape it onto your front. And usually there's some, you know, notches or whatever. This one just lines up. So you're going to line up. This one's pretty simple. Like she has the exact same pocket piece for all sizes. That's so nice and convenient, because then you just line up this edge to your cut edge of your size and then cut it as one. So you don't have to assemble the pocket or anything like that. You don't need this. You just need this little spot right here filled in so that now you have your waist corner. Don't forget that. Don't forget that or the yoke. That's classic Sarah thing. I would totally forget those and then get to my sewing machine and be like, I can't sew this. So don't forget those two things. I also only cut it like mid, you know, like below my thigh. So when the fabric starts kind of releasing, you know, and getting loose down there, you don't have to do a full pant unless you want, and maybe some of your issues are knock kneed or bow-legged issues, and you want to check that out and see where you're at with that. So, oh, I got this from the Love to Sew website. It arrived yesterday, and I thought I was going to have to be in my running shorts in front of you guys, and I was just like having all kinds of anxiety about it. I just can't do it, you guys. I'm already going to put pictures of myself up on the screen that I'm less than thrilled with. So. Oh, cool, Allison. So, I've drawn on my pants. Yes, I drew these lines that I was just talking about. The length grain, the crotch line, the hip, and the thigh. And I'm going to show you why. Where's my mouse? And then I have my notes. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything here. Okay, I'm doing pretty good here. I'm staying on track. Let's look through my other pages here. Okay. I even wrote my notes down for the fitting things. Okay, so let's see. I just added these two scenes. And so hopefully they're working. Okay. So this one right here is the one that was too small. And then I did one that, can you guys hear me and everything? Everything looks okay, right? And then this is the one that's 2 sizes bigger. All right, so let's just look at this. So now I drew the lines on after I sewed these, but I want you to look at I wish I could show you what I'm looking at, but do you see the horizontal lines that I drew on the pattern? Now, on the back view of me, you see my hand is on there, and that's because I don't want you to look at those lines. I want you to look at the right side of the body because I just was having trouble getting the tissue to lay flat, all right? So now look at the lines and see do you see how they're at an angle? That thigh and crotch line are at an angle, and even the hip kind of goes up like this. So that's a good indication that I have some fitting issues there. You can see there are a few wrinkles like at my high hip at the butt at the center there, and these are pretty tight. I mean, these are pretty snug. And then the front view, look, they don't button. They're about 3 inches too small. And same with the lines. I didn't take that picture very level, but the lines, you can tell they're kind of drooping. They don't look too bad. All right. Let me make sure. All right, so now let's look at the bigger pair. So now remember, we're fitting jeans, but these obviously probably look a little bit better in some cases because they're not like, I'm not stuffed into them, right? But you can see the one of the front view of me that is like, oh my gosh, right here. Oh man, the lighting is so weird today. You can see the waist is too big. There's definitely a lot of fabric in the crotch, and I'm trying to look at the lines there. The lines kind of sag a little bit because they're just a little too much fabric there. Now I have a pretty full tummy, and getting jeans to fit me really snug without like showing off my belly, that's kind of a balance I'm gonna have to find for myself and how I like. So I did the size, I think of, let me look, Melinda. That's a really good question. So let's see. I did the size of my hip for one and the size of my waist for the other. So the size of my hip is the smaller one, the first one we were looking at, and the size of my waist is this one here. But you can still see, look at the gaping at the back of my waist on the side view. Can you see that up there? And my butt. So look how baggy my butt is. Now for me, what I learned by looking at this, and this was so great taking pictures, I put my camera on a little tripod right here at hip level. I put the timer on and I just posed. And that's pretty simple to do if you don't have a helper or a companion. And you can tell on the back, like I have a low seat and a full seat, and it kind of protrudes. And on the front, what I learned on this smaller size here is that I have a thigh, my thighs stick out in the front. And that's, that was actually something I'd never even considered as a fit issue until I was looking at this and saw the lines, and then I ran across it when I was looking for how to make a pant form. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. And I've been a runner since I was like, 12. So I'm not a serious runner, but I've always run. And so and I was a gymnast too. So this makes sense, right? My lower body is going to be a little bit bigger. Why is the back thigh horizontal line pulling up? So you get the smile lines around the butt. Yeah, exactly. All right. So this looks to me like, let me get my little notes out here, that I have a full and protruding seat, right? And so what we need to do is we need to lengthen the back rise a little bit right here. We need to lengthen this. So let's look at those lines now. If this line here is pulling up, it's like, it's kind of tight and it's trying to meet the other side around your leg. And so you want to lengthen this a little bit. And I also need a little bit extra for my butt right here. So now let's talk about your silhouette. I brought my iPad, but I'm going to try this. Well, maybe I can, what I was thinking of doing on the iPad, I just didn't have enough time. Come on. Oh. Let me see if I can just draw. Right, is the side, waist, hip, knee, crotch. Okay. So now this is the side view. This is the tummy. Here's your belly button. Okay. So like, let's look at I kind of wish I would have moved this over here so I can draw next to it. And then let's look at the pattern piece. I'm not very good at drawing. And then we have and remember the back has a yoke. Don't forget the back has a yoke. I always forget that. Maybe you don't, but I do. And then we have our hip, we have our crotch, and we have our thigh, right? So now let's look at this little area right here and see if we drew a line straight up from there. This is the back waist. And say some folks' butts go here. Oh gosh. Here. And then some folks' butts go here. Let's look at, these different lines, okay? So if we needed more distance between the waist and the line, we would probably have to scoop it out a bit. I'm going to actually make this a little bit more conducive to making these changes. It's hard to draw like this too. Ah, Ray, thank you. Thanks, that's early. All right, so say that right here is, the red line is our neutral, right? So here's our waist to this. In relation, the red is the neutral, okay? We'll say medium butt is neutral, okay? And then we have this distance here, right? To go one way and go the other way, for the blue, which is a flatter seat, we would probably want to bring this line out that way a little bit and flatten it out a little bit. So the thing to do is not get hung up on the fact that this, it feels like you'd probably like, oh, well, it's flatter, I need to take it off, you know. You don't. You really want to, kitty, what kitty? Oh, the kitty, the kitty. You want to kind of flatten this out, this curve right here of the back crotch, right? So now for the fuller seat, we might want to carve it away a little bit because we need a little bit more of a scoop. Okay. And I think the thing to think about is, what if this were on the body? I was trying to think of a good way to illustrate this. But if we were to put this over here, we would want more of a scoop to get closer to the body, right? What do you guys think of that? So that's one thing you want to think about. So if I were to look at my back, and that's true, like if my back, if the garment is sticking out away from me, I need to get rid of some fabric there, right? Does that make it a little bit more obvious? And so I brought my dress form over here, but for that one that's a little bigger, if it's sticking away from my body, right? This is the side view of the pant. And I need to scoop it in. I need to get it closer. I need to remove some fabric there. And you want to flatten the curve for maybe a flatter backside. And I think that kind of terminology and visualization sort of helps. I really wish I had a diagonal, or I mean a cross-cut dress form. It'd be so fun. All right, so let me wait, I have all kinds of notes over here. Let me think here. And so for the protruding seat, you're probably gonna want to lengthen this line right here. So let's get rid of this. So now what we probably want to do here is we want to lengthen this seat, right? Because we have this bunching here. We need a little bit longer to go around the bum and a little bit extra in the thigh so we can drop this line down. Because right now the line is pulling up on the body when it's doing that kind of bunching. So if you want to relax this, what you would do is you would cut a wedge, and I can cut a wedge in this. And then let's see, I think I can do it. Distort, is that how I want to do it? So then I have this little wedge here. And I just gave more fabric down here to go around that bum. Yeah, you're gonna crease the, well, by scooping, I'm not scooping right now. I'm kind of adding here to this thigh circumference, and I'm adding length to the crotch rise by adding this wedge. Go away. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Let me look at my photos again here. So when I'm doing fitting things like this on myself, and I'm not feeling overly eager to getting my project, and I kind of want to get it right, especially if I was doing it for someone else, I'd probably spend more time and care on it. I would make a change and then try it on. Make a change, then try it on. And then eventually I'd probably have to cut another muslin and try it on. In fact, I used up all mine today or yesterday. So one of the things I tried, so like say you want to, is this the one I did that on? No, this one is. So some of the things you can try without cutting a whole nother muslin, you can flatten out the seat. So let's see here. So this one here, you can see my seam allowance is clipped. This is another thing that kind of helps the fitting, is that you don't always clip your seam allowances on a crotch rise. Yeah, exactly. For a flat seat, but not for a protruding seat. Exactly. I feel like I'm starting to get little. All right, so I tried that out to see what would happen on this pair. And I kind of came in, you know, so my original line was, I just saw a skin I can get for my pencil that looks like a actual pencil, and I kind of want it so that I don't lose it. So here's the original stitch line, and so I came in and I sewed down here and kind of flattened it out, made it more like flattened, right? Less curve and more of a flat shape to see what would happen. I think that those are the kinds of things you can do to kind of see, well, I don't know. Do I have a flat seat? Do I have a protruding seat? I feel like it's both. My seat is flat, you know? Hi, Louise. So I think that that's the thing, is if you're not sure, just try it and see what you think. You don't have to finish all of these pattern pieces, and just try and don't get too lost in the sauce with it, and take some notes. And then make sure that if you did something that you like, that you can transfer that to your pattern piece before you forget it. And if it's on top of other changes, like don't try and do too many changes to your muslin if it's going to start feeling like, well, I don't know what affected it. Was it this and this? Was it this? Was it that? You know? So try and keep your head on about you know, when you're doing it. And maybe even just focus on one part of it, like the circumference. I think the circumference is a good thing to focus on first, because it relaxes the entire garment and lets it hang, and then you can kind of bring it in. Yeah, I think that's smart, Ursula. And I think for me, starting larger is easier, because when it's too tight, I feel like there's too many extra adjustments I need to do, even though it's closer. Maybe I do want a close fitting jean, you know, and then I will, I feel like I have too many adjustments, and then one adjustment may affect another, you know? So let's look at how I sewed this too. So while we're inside out here, so you can see I just sewed it at the seam lines, and look at the waist. I did sew and turn the 3 sides of the waist, but look, I just sewed it onto the waistband just with a seam, and I accidentally got my seam allowance turned. I just sewed the fly extension in half. I just folded it in half and attached it to the front fly. Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy here, folks. Don't worry about it. Even if you don't know how to sew a fly yet, you can manage this, because all I did was attach it to that front fly. Even if you do it on the wrong side, it's okay. It's okay. Don't think you're going to do it wrong on your jeans. Your mind is not on that yet, and so it'd be easy to make mistakes in sewing it together, because you're not really thinking, your head's not in the sewing step game yet. Your head's in the fitting game yet, and that's okay. So I just do everything raw edges, and then I have something to try on. And then see here, I actually started playing around with you know, the back right. Okay, I needed more hip circumference, you know. And I think actually that did have some positive. All right, let's look at here. So this is my too small one. And while it's a little closer in the waist, it also, my shirt wasn't held up high enough. It dipped like this in the back, you know. So here's the waistband. And it dipped. I'm really exaggerating that. So I think naturally, what if you were wearing these and someone was wearing them? And like for me, when I see bad fitting things, I want to just go to my scissors and go snip, you know, like I just want to go like that and let it release and lengthen right there. And then usually that's what would happen. So does the scooping apply to the yoke? I would leave the yoke unless you need to make some changes. Usually what I have to do to a yoke is I have to pivot it. I will put some pivots in it. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. So usually for me, I usually always have to take something out in the back waist right here. And you don't generally just want it at the center back, even though that seems pretty easy. You sometimes might want it on either side of the center back. And what I do is I will slash here and then overlap. So I'll make my slash from the waist raw edge to the seam line like this. And then overlap it. We can adjust the waistband later. The waistband's easy. But if your waistband, like this one is, curved, you would probably want to make this change that you did in the same spot where the waistband sews to it, just to maintain kind of the integrity of it following the curve of the waistline. So then now I have this little dart. And as long as I can, you know, slash and overlap, I haven't changed this seam line here. Yeah, exactly. The yoke is basically replaces darts on pants. So if you have trousers, you have darts. If you have jeans, you have a yoke. So if you were usually, I can show you, if you laid the yoke down on the pattern, here it is. So let's draw in the seam allowance on the largest size. The Dawn jean incidentally comes in more sizes than in the printed envelope. My first one I sewed with the wrong seam allowance. I think I sewed it at 1/2 inch and then changed halfway through. Oh, well, thanks for proving me wrong on this particular pair, Megan Nielsen. In general, there is usually a dart here. I'm proven wrong here. I mean, there is kind of a dart there, actually. Let's see. Here it is right here. You see this little bit? Yeah, there's a little bit of a dart here. And so that can pivot anywhere, right? This is going to pull it down and kind of bring this curve closer to your waistline so that you're getting more of a shape here for your butt. So it's doing the, let's see, how can I show you that? So the way this dart is functioning is when it's pulled here, it creates a curve right here. My hand is like cupping what it's doing, and then it pulls that in towards the waist. Yeah, and it could be right there too. Doesn't matter. I mean, the dart is there going this way because it's cupping it that way, and it's bringing it closer to your waist and giving you this room here. It's not ever very much. It doesn't take very much though. Yeah, I have a pair of jeans where my yoke is pretty curved, and so is my waistband. And that's because, like I said, I think I have this like backward hip tilt, you know. I also have been a toe walker all my life, and so my muscles are probably a little tiny bit different and a little more built up than a normal person. And I will say normal because that isn't normal, and it causes me lots of other little issues, fit issues and things that I'm probably unaware of and just used to. All right, let's talk about some other fit things. Where's my notes? Here it is. All right. So, and let's talk about your thighs. So like I said, my front thigh sticks out. You know, like have you ever seen little kids and their little thighs stick out? That's kind of how mine is. And so what I can do is I can add more. So now I want to talk about like adding more to your tummy, and then I'm going to show you how to do some of these pattern changes. Let's see. Here it is. So because we're talking about fitting, you know, this top cylinder here, what if we only focused on just fitting across the body here? I think if you thought of it that way, like say you thought of this as a skirt, what would you do to get the circumference to fit you around the top if it were a skirt and you weren't worried about the legs or your crotch, you know? And then you worry about your thigh, right? And those two things, making those changes to each cylinder is going to make the overall jean fit you the best. And I think isolating what's going on is really what the challenge is. And I agree, it's sometimes hard to look at a picture and go, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think of my butt as flat, or I don't think of it as low or protruding, you know? And I think it's really then trial and error. What if I cut right here and I release the strain? Like those lines of fabric are pointing down here. So obviously that little point, if it's all really tight right there, what if I snipped there and then they went, they relaxed. Okay, I know now I need a wedge right here. I need to like release it. And that's what I'm talking about, kind of paying attention to what the fabric's doing. And sometimes you have those drag lines and things because there's too much fabric there. And then you may need a couple of iterations because you're going to have to maybe work on one fit thing or two fit things first and then see how it affects that other one. So I think working on the length of the rise and the width are your primary things here of your thigh and then your torso. So say like me, you have a full tummy, maybe, you know, thinking of it as your total rise. So if I were to place a tape measure at the waistline between my legs and go up to the waistline in the back, and I were to measure me, and then I were to measure the rise, and you would add probably like, there's set amounts of ease that you're going to add. So you could even do some of these changes without even ever making a muslin. Nello, Nancy. And probably get there pretty close when you go to try on your muslin. So let's talk about that too as well. So if we're going to say we measure on the seam line, the total rise, and I'm just going to throw a number out there. I don't know what it is. We'll say it's 21. And then we measure our own rise, and we're 23. And we know also that we need probably, like, if you're in the lower sizes, probably about a 1/2 inch of ease. And if you're in the upper sizes, I actually wrote down some numbers. Where are those? Because I was trying to keep track of so many things. I wanted to make sure I didn't get that amount right. Yeah, so it's like to like 1 inch, right? You need like 1/2 to 1 inch of ease. And that's your total. Wait, is that my total rise? No. My total rise is like 2 inches. Yeah, I was going to say that. I was looking at my crotch depth, which crotch depth is if you're sitting in a chair, if you measured your waist to the seat that you're sitting on, that's your depth, crotch depth. That's not your rise. That's just the depth of, if you're like the side view of you sitting. And that is about 1/2 to an inch. Your rise, though, it goes between your waist to waist through your legs. That's, you know, up to about 2 inches if you're in the upper sizes. So you want like 3/4 to 1/2. Yeah, right, Nancy? I think, was that in the Facebook group? Yeah. Yeah, I think the fly is kind of long. And the buttons don't help. We'll look at that when we get to the sewing. So, say all right, my rise is 23. Plus I want, these are jeans, so, and I'm in the like middle range, so I want about 1.5 inches of ease. So I need these to be 24.5 inches. All right, I know that I already need to add 3.5 inches to the total rise. Now I need to figure out where. Now, do I have a big belly? Do I have a protruding seat? Maybe I split the difference and I add some to the front and some to the back. And the way you're going to do that is with these wedges. The crotch line is the depth. Crotch depth is, so if you're sitting in a chair, this is your butt, this is your waist, here's your belly button, and here's your chair, right? This line from your waist to the seat is your crotch depth. Here's your knees. And where's the depth on the pattern? Oh, the depth on the pattern. Yeah, I mean, that would be your side seam waist to the crotch line. Sorry. Crotch line to the waist is your depth. Plus ease. You need to add a little bit of ease there. And because you're only talking 1/2, you're not talking the total rise, it's about half the amount of ease. So it makes sense at least, right? All right. What else do I want to make sure I go over before I show you a few of these pattern changes? I think what I'm just trying to underscore is looking at these parts as sections. Now, there is a general order of operations of doing it, you know, but I think like you tackle what you can tackle if this is very overwhelming for you. And then I think like if I were doing this, I would probably focus on the length of the sorry, I thought I heard something. The length here of your rise in this area. But I can also see if you have a lot of fit issues going on, maybe you want to deal with the width first, because maybe that relaxes things. I think one can relax the other and affect the other positively. So, all right, so let's look at some pattern adjustments. I feel like I just forgot something that I didn't finish talking about. So hopefully, maybe we'll come across it right now. I just want to chop my pattern. I wish I had a second pattern. Too bad I didn't do this on the Morgan jeans because I actually have 2 patterns by accident. Maybe I should have. Okay, so all these pattern pieces over here. I'm going to leave these, but I want my yoke kind of handy. I just don't want to lose any of them. And then I don't want you either. Oh, I had some announcements for you guys, but we're deep in it now. And these pant changes that we're talking about can go on any pant. It doesn't matter if they're jeans, if they're stretch denim, non-stretch, trousers, men's pants. It doesn't matter. What you're looking at is, you know, isolating the area. Does it need more length or girth? length or girth, you know, or length or circumference. So you're trying to figure out where you need to attack the pattern at, you know. And just, you know, if you are a little bit nervous, like say you have a tissue paper pattern from the envelope, you know, what you can do if you don't want to trace it off is photocopy it. You know, like fold it up and photocopy it, maybe draw some lines and photocopy it, and then you have your extra set you can tape together, kind of like a PDF pattern. And maybe just do that right from the beginning, and that way you feel like you have complete permission to just chop up your pattern and you're not so worried about it. All right. So let's say we need more circumference up here. Or wait, let's see here. What if we needed, let's make this a small waist, but a bigger thigh. I need to come up with like a, my iPad's about to fall off there. I think I had some examples here. That back pocket, what does that mean? Yeah. All right, I went over all that. That's great. All right, so let's look at this. I'm gonna trace mine off on here. I'm kind of tempted to trace it on the other one, but that's okay. I'm going to just trace it off because this is my only copy of the pattern. You know how cavalier I can be with my pattern pieces too. Oh, I wish I would have removed that piece of paper underneath. I think also that we're probably going to make this a two-part. We may end up making a lot of this on Wednesday as well. I may end up not cutting these. We'll just see how we get today. That is not a right angle. I can see it. Like I said, I was having some trouble with the tissue earlier. I had this weird wrinkle, and then I got all my lines a little bit off. It was kind of heartbreaking. All right, so we have this. And why I was just saying that is because once you make your pattern changes for your fit, you're going to need to transfer some of those changes to the pieces that sew to your pant, like your yoke or your pocket or things like that. And I want to make sure you know how to do that. I don't think that's the hip line, but c'est la vie. Right. Hello, bibliotecaria. Oh, that was a word. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really wish I would have removed that. Oh, here come all the... This is so funny how YouTube's been doing this to us lately. We'll get all of our subscribes. Oh, I meant to thank some of you for becoming Patreon patrons. I had like 3 of you yesterday. Hello, Heather. Hello, Virginia. Welcome. I don't know if you're here. All right, let's see here. I think I can maybe keep those straight. Just make sure you transfer your length grain on your pattern. Kind of important. Kind of a guide. You and you and you and you. I've ever fit something so in depth, and I'll get better at it. Hopefully my information's consistent too. Do you ever do that thing where you're saying one thing but you think you're saying a completely different word? I do that sometimes in my videos where I'll have like I'm teaching something, and it's so infuriating when I'll say something like you know, and then make sure you understitch this pocket piece, and I'm stitching on a collar, and you literally didn't even hear yourself say that. That's what I'm totally worried about, doing that kind of thing today. All right. And remember, we have a yoke up here. That's mostly for me because I will forget. Gonna add our seam allowance in here real quick. All right, so let's say we want to add a little bit to our thigh. Now remember, this is the crotch line, so everything below the crotch line is your leg, right? This is one cylinder, and if you thought of it like that these, if you were just to cut this out right here above, sew your two backs together, sew your two fronts together, you would basically have a skirt with a weird little flap hanging out between your legs a little bit. Hello, Patricia. Welcome. Nice to see you. And same thing here. What if you were to cut only the bottom half of your pants, you know, just the crotch line and below? Theoretically, this is going to meet right at the top of your leg where they join to the trunk of your body and go down. And so that's the way I like to think about the fit changes, is what am I working on right now? Tune out the rest of the stuff. What am I working on right now? And what am I looking at? And is something over there affecting down here? You know, things like that. But let's say that you need to make a smaller waist, but a bigger hip. So, you know, if you're kind of young in your adjusting and stuff, and or you just want to do it quick and dirty, maybe you would go like this. Maybe you would take it in here or here in the waist and then go out at the hip there. But if you want to kind of maintain the integrity of the pattern pieces, what you're going to do is use these lines, and we're going to just cut. Since I'm doing both adjustments, and then I'm also going to cut here. So this is the hip line, crotch, and scrap paper. I only really need this for the lower half. Now remember, I only made my samples, I made them only 2 sizes apart. And those lines, I mean, look at how close these lines are. Right? The upper sizes are about 1/4 of an inch apart on most of the circumference grades. And then the smaller sizes are probably about 1/8 of an inch. And that's probably because the upper sizes are, I'm going to guess, grading 2 inches between sizes, and the lower sizes are grading 1 inch between sizes. And I'm talking about that 1 and that 2 inch means the total circumference. It's for rigid denim, Louise. And so let's look. So looking at the grade rule of any garment, and the grade rule is the difference between the sizes in the measurements. So if you were to look at the waist right here, it goes from a 0, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then at that 12, it jumps. The grade doubles and goes to a 2-inch difference. So it goes to 32, 34, 36, 38. Now, if you ever see the hip grading a different, I'm on the back right now, but I'm just about to do some pattern changes, Kathleen. And I'm just talking a little bit about the differences between the sizes and how much of a difference there can be. So if you ever see a pattern and the waist and the hip are graded differently, that's an alarm bell. You don't generally see that. You might see it maybe like one of the hip measurements might be a 1.5 inch grade, and they were like 1 inch, 1 inch, you know, and the waists are all 1 inch, 1 inch, and then the waist goes 2 inch, and maybe the one hip goes 2.5 inches. That's okay if it's like maybe one of the sizes in between them all. They're trying to make a target, and that's okay. But if you see that kind of difference, say you see a 1 inch between waist sizes between the 0 and the 10, and a 1.5 inch between the 0 and the 10 on the hip, that pattern is going to be funkorama. So you got to kind of, I do look at these grade rules, and I don't always talk about them because it's a lot of numbers talk, but it's something that kind of helps me determine, I look for those warning signs occasionally, and I rarely see them, but I do see them in really small companies, but I've seen them in really popular ones too. The reason I'm bringing that up is these two samples that I made to show you guys. This is the smaller one, and this is the larger one. Those are 2 sizes different. So that means there's 4 inches of difference. That's a lot, right? It doesn't look like much on the pattern piece, right? You see that there's only a 1/4 inch difference on that pattern piece. But that's 4 inches with 2 sizes. Now, had I done, if I were in the middle of the size chart and I had done the, let's see, the 12 and the 14, it would have been a 2-inch difference. If I would have gone the 12 to the 16, a 4-inch difference. So what if I had gone the 10 to the 14? So the 10 was a 29 waist and the hip is a 39 hip. And I had done the 14. That would have been a 3-inch difference. So you got to kind of maybe pick where you're at as long as you're in that sizing, and just understand that's what's happening. You might only need to do 2 different sizes if you want to try out both and kind of get an idea, but you can see how drastically different they fit me when the smaller one is my hip measurement, but the larger one is my waist measurement. Doesn't mean my waist is bigger than my hip. It just means that on the pattern envelope, my waist fits better in that size than it does on the size that fits my hip. And then that's when people start talking about grading between sizes, because maybe that's a little bit easier. I mean, I'm doing that anyway without even thinking about it, because I've picked the larger size and now I'm going to taper it down to fit me in the waist, you know, or the hip or whatever it is. And honestly, I actually like the way the larger one fits in the hip. It's just the waist gets kind of too big for me. It almost fits me the opposite of how my measurements are coming out. All right, so now we're talking about, for this example, we're going to make a waist that's smaller, but a hip that's bigger. All right, and so here's this piece. Remember, this is what we started with. Sorry, my paper's getting a little curly. This is the back. Remember, we have our yoke pattern piece there as well. And you'd have to make these changes to the yoke. And in fact, on something like this, you probably want to use it as a point of reference, because this is my waist, not this down here. Right? I always forget the yoke. The poor yoke. The yoke is just like a little stepchild for me. I don't know why I always forget him. All right, so let's do our like a wider hip down here, and say we just want to add 1 inch in circumference to the hip, just 1 inch, right? Then we only need to move this a 1/4 inch. If we wanted to add 2 inches to the hip, awesome, Tanya. I'm glad. I'm not feeling like it's the best because I feel like it's really hard to explain. I'm so glad. We'll get better at it, and I'll get better at teaching it and maybe having some better props too. There's a lot of great people that do it out there too. All right, so let's say, so if I did a 1 inch difference, the reason I say it's only a 1/4 inch is because we have 2 backs and we have 2 fronts. So that's 4 opportunities to increase it. And you want to increase it in a way that is evenly distributed around the body, because then it's the least noticeable as well, and the more relaxed around you as well. So if we wanted to do a 2 inch difference, then we need to divide that by 4, and it's a 1/2 inch. So let's just add a 2 inch circumference in the hip. So we'll add a 1/2 inch parallel to that length grain. And what also makes these lines really important is that it helps you get your pattern pieces lined back up where they were when you make the adjustment. And this is really important when you get back to looking at your pocket pieces or the things that sew to this that we're not considering right now because we're just working on the fit, not the style. All right, so say our waist, where's my removable tape? Now, I'm not really going into the details of how this particular person's waist fits. So maybe what I wanted was to, add that overlap, creating that little dart. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually thinking I feel like I'm covering 2 different kinds of waist changes in one when you should do them both differently. All right, so I'm just going to tape this on here. I have this removable tape. It won't hurt my tissue. Oh, that's not okay. So we could, make our waist a little bit smaller by slashing and overlapping. Even if I just took it in a 1/4 inch right there, that would be a 1/2 inch total across the back waist, right? So we can do that. But maybe we want to go, through the entire pattern piece because it's just too full back here and you need to get rid of a little bit of that. So if you can just do your waist change only at the waistline, that's nice. But it doesn't always work out that way. So remember, this is our hip line here and that was our length grain. So let's take out a 1/2 inch total across the back waist. So we'll put a 1/4 inch line on this side of the length grain and we'll overlap this like this. I'm adding it to the middle because it keeps this line here as close to the original as possible. You can add it to the sides. It's okay to do that, especially if you're not adding very much. But what happens is you might end up changing kind of the seams that things sew to, and then you end up just having to fuss with getting all your lines back where they were, but that's okay. Awesome, Debbie. So now look, I have this jog right here, right? What do I do about this? So this is my narrower upper pant and my wider lower pant. And, I have a hip curve, which is just a curved ruler. You can do whatever. You can just use a pencil. You can just sketch it in. I've definitely done that. But just remember, you don't really want to shave off some of this down here if you need it. But you don't want to add too much up there as well. So you're going to try and do your best to kind of get this line, to kind of match up. Can I do it like that? You see that? And then that way I haven't touched anything over here. I haven't changed the grain line. And what if you needed it removed back here, like Sherbet Lollipop? That's a cute name. Oh, awesome. I just got my Love to Sew t-shirt yesterday. My husband, I think, saw it off to the side. He's like, wait, what does your shirt say? I was like, Stitch B. He was like, I was like, it says Switch. It's okay. What was I about to say? I was about to say something. Oh, darn it. You had a good point, like adding it, why add to the middle and not the sides? You can add it to the sides, that's fine. But you also don't want, oh, I know what I was going to say. For me, when I need to remove back waist, it's usually not at the sides. I find that if I do that, all it does is create a little like angle right here, and I still get gapping. What it does is it tightens up my pants across the front and the sides here. It does nothing to the center back. And if I just kept pulling out right here and to get it gone, to get that excess out of my small of my back, what'll end up happening is I'll get kind of a weird angle of my back waist, because you got to kind of do it so extremely and aggressively. But if you're just doing a little bit, or maybe you do need it at the sides, then you can add it there. Just because you need it at the side seams and not at the back waist doesn't mean that your fit thing is weird or different. It could be the pattern. It's just it's whatever. You just need to put it and take it away where you need it specifically. All right, so this is what I wanted to show you, though, is just kind of like blending back in these two spots. We still have this amount that we wanted right here. And, because this shifted over here and it went out here, this is okay, because look, we wanted to remove 1/4 of an inch here, and we wanted to add a 1/2 inch here. So getting rid of this a little bit is probably okay, because they're going across each other, If we were to measure this amount here. And that's another thing. You can always double check your work by checking, right? So this is 14.5, and this one here, we moved it to 13 3/4. That's 3/4 of an inch different. Well, we got to kind of mitigate that somehow. We only wanted to lose 1/4 of an inch across this piece here, and we only wanted to gain a 1/2 inch here. So they got to kind of meet in the middle a little bit. So, all right, so let's talk about decreasing or increasing this rise bit here. So the other thing is, we were talking about, I can't remember which one of you said it, but the flat seat adjustment. So something like that looks like flattening out this crotch line here. I'll use a pink pen, right? So don't feel like adjusting this a lot is a bad thing at all. Like I said, it just depends on the pattern company. And what's really interesting is if you started comparing all the back pattern pieces to each other, you'd kind of probably be shocked at how different this little area is. Doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It's just different. When I see certain pant styles on people that are super enthusiastic, they're generally about the same silhouette as each other. And then you have this other camp of people buying these jeans or wearing this jean pattern, and the super happy ones are all about the same silhouette. It's kind of like the same thing of like having your favorite brand. My daughter's favorite brand like if I were her age, me at her age, we would not have the same favorite brand. She is far more slender and straight than I was. And I needed things that were much curvier at that age. My waist, it was so small compared to my hips. Gymnastics and running didn't help that. And plus I was really busty. She's pretty busty, but not like I was. So we would not have had the same brands, you know, and I think it's the same in pattern companies as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Not every pattern needs to fit every body type unless you're willing to make the changes. So that's okay. All right, so flattening that seat out, you literally are, you're flattening it out like this. And then try that on, you know, see how that fits and see if that works for you. All right, so let's talk about lengthening this line here and increasing the thigh. So if we wanted to increase this thigh here, that's a very easy change. Or decreasing the thigh, you're going to want to shave it off right here. So if we wanted to decrease the thigh, you know, you're just shaving off that little bit and blending into that line. I know I just did that with a straight ruler. You can use it with a curved ruler. And it's the same thing with this. Little bits go a long way in this area. It's kind of, and the way I like to think about this area is that, because if you need a lot for your thigh, you can do it out here, right? You can do it like we just did down here with the hip and the thigh area. But right here, this is my story I like to tell about this area. I once knew a woman who knew the woman who did the clinical study for the measurement of a woman's, across the crotch, so between the legs. And it was a scientific study and measurement, probably maybe going for obstetrics or something. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't for garment making. But what they learned was that area on a woman, the width there of the pubic area, varies about at 1/8 of an inch. It barely varies among all women. And that's pretty astounding when you think about all the areas on a woman's body that vary so greatly between each other. So doing little adjustments here can have a big impact, so you don't feel like you have to do too long. That being said, if you need extra to go around your bum, you can lengthen this grain line here. You know? All right, and so say we only want to lengthen this rise here. And we don't really want to add it here. We need it in our booty. Here's our booty right here, right? We need to get over that hump, literally. We can add that wedge, you know, right here. I would do it right at your hip line. And we're going to do it like I was showing how I remove it on this yoke piece here. Let's just take off this extra paper here. I think all of you have seen this kind of change before. You're all smart cookies, you know. But I'll just show you. So remember, we have our new side seam over here, and we have a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't cut through that. In fact, I'm going to tape my piece here because it is already cut from doing this adjustment here. We're going to cut straight to it. If it's not perfectly straight, don't worry about it. Up to that seam line. Now the reason you don't do that, don't go straight through, is because you don't want to lengthen this line here, because then this piece won't sew to the front. You really need to keep your seam lines the same if they are going to something else. All right, and so if we want to add some rise here, we can do it here. Now you can do it right here, but remember, we're talking about going over the peach, right? So if you put it up there, what happens is your pants are maybe start just climbing up your back. It's not adding it down here, because remember, this area is narrower. This area is wider. This area is the area you wanted to add the fullness to. So why would you add it up there? It doesn't just automatically fall down to here and shift. It's not like sand in an hourglass, even though we're shaped like one. You need to add it right here. And a little bit's going to go a long way, right? Now, you're going to do this as well if, say, your back waist is at a point like this, like I was showing you earlier. So when you're wearing your pants how do I draw this? Here's your yoke. Here's your waistband. But it's doing this like really hard dip, right? It's not a nice smooth line across your back there. I have this problem all the time. I've had this since I was 12. You want to raise that up. And like I said, remember I just want to go snip and kind of pull it up, you know, just let it relax. You know, you have these wrinkles that are pointing. They're almost pointing to the point it wants to be snipped at, you know. So if you're having that issue up here, you can lengthen your rise there. You can try right here, but I think that this will be a little bit more easy to fit all your pattern pieces to without making any big changes. Because remember, this pattern piece and this pattern piece have already been sorted out. We have good transitions going here and here and here and here. So leave all that alone so you don't have to mess around with that. So how do you know where? I would do it on that hip line, Eliza, right here. Kind of that fullest part of your seat. If you have a low butt, yeah, I still think you want to do it there because we're also kind of adding and subtracting on this crotch line here to affect the placement of it. I feel like I'm having trouble really putting into words because I don't have like a visual. Wouldn't it be cool if we could just animate everything? Yes, exactly. The low butt. Yeah. Scoop out the crotch curve. Wait, I set that for a flat butt too. Let's see. Yeah, because I have kind of a protruding butt. There's my cheat sheet. Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Okay, good. I'm just glad. Yeah, so if you have that flat seat, you're going to kind of want to get rid of a little bit here because maybe you have some like extra fabric kind of bunching up. Even if it's tight across here, maybe you can add a little bit of girth right here. Flatten out this seat here. They're also, it's also close together. And I think when I was looking at mine and trying to determine, well, what do I have going on there? You know, let's look at my pictures again. Which one's this? This is the too small one. But let's be honest. How often have we seen jeans fit someone like this and we were like, okay, right? My biggest issue is the tummy. It doesn't meet in the tummy. And I'm going to show you like how to fix that because you don't add it to the center front. Maybe Eliza, I have not heard that. I feel like I've seen that or heard that, but I don't know. But that does sound like that would be a good assumption. I think I saw you write that, Kathleen. Were you the one that wrote that on a YouTube comment? I don't have an answer for that. Because I don't agree with that, actually. I've had better luck with sewing patterns than ready to wear. I've had to do fewer changes to sewing patterns. I think, too, that the quality of the fabric's probably better. But I don't know. I don't know, Kathleen. Maybe you just have a brand that really works for you. You know? Don't rock the boat. Buy them. All right, here's my bigger pair. But I don't really like that loose fabric below my butt. Like, I don't want mom jeans. These are full-on mom jeans. I think we can all agree. I do like the side view except for at the back waist. And then, but all that fabric, like you can really see it under my left cheek. It's just that low protruding bum. but it's still too loose. So say you say you want to go to town pinning your garment. Now, if you are going to go to town pinning your garment and you're like, I'm just going to sculpt these to fit me, just be really careful because there are certain adjustments that are pretty tricky. So if you just start, you know, if I started pinning all that fabric out of there, right? I just started pinning it right here and I had a dart. Yeah, right, Libby, what about the size in between? Right? Or what about grading between sizes? It's kind of shocking the difference between the waists, though, in my opinion. Like, how can one waist fit so badly and the other one be too big? But that 4 inches, yo, that's a big difference. But it looks like on that smaller size, I could add, I think I measured it was 3¼ inches. And the thing is, I need it across the front. I don't need it across the back. I'm very small across the back, so I just need the extra towards the front. And this is why that fit issue of my hips tilting has always puzzled me with the fabric pooling at the lower back, because I just thought, well, gosh, it's got to be because my stomach is pulling on that fabric. But then I did a test where I didn't sew it on the sides and I put it on my dress form and it still did it. And it's because my butt is pushing up, like my hips are kind of tilted back, you know, and it kind of sits there. And plus I have like this pad of muscle up high from toe walking probably. I don't know. I don't really, I mean, like I just stopped trying to figure out why a long time ago. I just want to know how to fix it and what it is that I'm trying to fit. All right, so like I said, like if you wanted to just start like pinning off the fabric and stuff, if you pinned out a dart here, say you pinned out a dart and it looked like this, right? Your starting and your stopping point are not going to a seam. I think you're going to be in a little bit of a frustrated pattern drafting woe trying to get this out of there if you've pinned it out. I would try and get it closer before you get into a pickle like that. If it goes all the way to the seam, like say you're pinning out like this weird thing like this, right? Maybe one of your legs is shorter than the other, which everybody's are practically, and maybe it's significant for you. You know, if it goes to 0 here, but it goes to a 1/2 inch on either side to the side seam, by all means, cut it out. See what happens. Yeah, Libby, yeah. Yeah, and you know my pet peeve with it, Libby, is that when I wear certain shirts, I don't like that if I'm bending around a lot and moving, the back waist will come up away from my body and my shirt will slip in there, like folded into there. And then I go up and it feels like it pulls out. I don't like that. I don't like that my shirt's slipping into that gap. And it's just because I haven't probably taken the time on that pair. Because I think that the pair that does that was my first pair of gingers that I didn't fit very well. And I feel like the waist comes up too high on the body. That maybe they should have sit lower and then flat against me. You know? All right, so how are we feeling right now? I feel like this could be a good stopping point. Except I did kind of wanted to show you like how to increase that front waist, like on mine where it was so much, would be the opposite of how I made the back waist smaller. I would expand it there and then blend my side seam. You guys have any other questions? I know you have a ton of questions because it's probably relating to what you're working on. But can I answer anything else? I feel like I have a war zone of paper and prototypes here. That is a good question, Libby. Oh, they might be hanging. Let's see. It looks like... Let's see, what size is that? Oh, these are sized by waist. So it looks like I made a 34-36. A 34. So she has these by waist measurement. So these, it looks like a 34. I remember that I made some adjustments and then I took off the adjustments. And I was like, okay, I just made these pretty much exactly how they were. And I will say that the fabric I made those in was from a Needle Sharp box. And that denim is really nice. It's really stretchy. It's very lightweight and very, very stretchy, though, I will say that. But they don't feel, like, they feel a little tight on me because of my, you know, pandemic 20. But they look pretty good in that Texas top picture, and I wasn't doing anything to kind of make them look better. So I think that's great, Ray. That would be the 16. That makes sense because the smaller one that I make, is that what it is the 16 in these pictures here. And like I said, I'm this one here. This is the 16. This is the 20. But wouldn't that be obviously the difference because the others are stretch denim? So we could kind of smooth over some of those little issues with stretch denim, right? What if you made the Dawn jeans in a size smaller than your size, but in stretch denim? You know? And that is one thing to think about. When you're making denim jeans that are not stretch, they will stretch out over the course of the day, and some denim is better than others. I think, you know, Kathleen's question of why do ready-wear pants fit so well but sewing patterns don't. I think that's also, I think she's right about that, especially when it comes to fabric. Do you ever find that, like, remember when stretchy jeans came out and we were like, yay, liberation. And then we were like, oh my God, these look terrible at 3 p.m. You know, the knees were all like stretched out, especially your mom. You're like crawling around on the floor like I was. Or they're just like, you're always doing the little like muffin top, you know, boogie to get them back up over. Or, you know, because they would stretch out over the course of the day, you know. So then you start going, ooh, whose denim has good return and doesn't do that? You know, I used to buy Liverpool jeans. Have you guys heard of those? Pretty expensive, but they lasted me for years and years. Like, I only got rid of them finally because I had so many homemade pairs of jeans. And I thought they're still in such great condition. Maybe someone could have some nice jeans that they can afford used, you know, in a popular size. Yeah, Melinda, that's a really good point. I do feel like stretch denim does wear out faster, and it's because of that Lycra. Yeah, Melinda, I'm eager to hear that. Yeah, you do too, Barbara? Yeah. And then the other ones I used to have, Jag. Jag was the kind I used to buy, the pull-on jeans. And I would never, ever assume, but I swear the Itch to Stitch Mountain View, she's either their pattern drafter or she was heavily inspired or very, very coincidentally lucky because the Jag jeans, and they have pull-on jean styles. But I loved those too. Really nice denim too. Jag and Liverpool. honestly, I feel like for years and years, jeans would never be good at the store. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, I should say, like in the last 15 years, jeans are finally good when you buy them. If you're not going for, you know, certain brands, like probably the lower priced brands. Like Target jeans were okay on me, but they didn't last long, and boy. Oh, really? From Costco? Holy moly. I used to get them at a boutique, and it would just pain me. I would always get one pair every year before my shows. You know, and my jean denim in my Ash jeans still smells. It smells so synthetic. I hate it. Oh, I'm so glad, Allison. Maybe just cut out a muslin and shorts and just do that. You don't have to make your whole pair of jeans right now, but maybe if you just do that while you're excited about it, I think that's the perfect time to do it. When you're kind of excited about it, just doing your muslin, you know? I'm pretty excited. So this kind of segues into some of the things I wanted to bring up at the beginning, because we've been talking about doing our own blocks. And so I think, you know, I told you that I tried the freesewing.org one, and, you know, so this is mine. This is what it looks like, and it's fully printed out. And because I put all my measurements in there, I just clicked one button, and I have a trouser block too. So I'm kind of eager to try that. And I'm so busy right now that it's really distracting, because I'm pretty excited, because I want to know how good is this. Mainly because I want to know how, if I tell you guys, hey, go do this, and then you're all like, that sucked. I don't want that to happen. So, wax jeans called But I Love You. That's cute. Oh, and then anyone who's a Patreon, tier 2 and tier 3's got a little pocket thing on cutaway pockets and some pattern pieces. I did this in Procreate. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I have a tickle. And they also got a bonus video besides the one that was uploaded on YouTube. So, and that one's on like cutting and planning. And I did have quite a few new Patreon patrons. That's awesome. I haven't drank any water this morning. That's really great. I'm actually getting really close to breaking even, which is awesome. Oh, that's awesome, Nancy. It's so funny. Wax brand. That's a funny name. I bet they have to explain the fact that their jeans aren't waxed all the time. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, I forgot to do a thumbhole demo for the Annie cardigan. And do you know, that didn't pop into my head till 2 days ago. So I remember we were going to do a thumbhole in the cuff. I was going to sew it like that. And I completely forgot. I feel terrible. I forgot something else too. What was it? I thought of that. I hate it when I do that. All right, so I hope that at least this makes you guys feel like that you're not worried about if you have this fit issue or if it's going to come out bad. Your first few fittings might not go well. Especially when you're new to this. So just try and focus on where you think it is. And if you really want to do it, what I would do is do one change, check it, and then go to another one. Rule it out. You know what I mean? Rule it out. You'll feel better. Yes, is it more work? It is. But you know, you can, like, if you want to use your muslin, is this my bigger one? I think it's my bigger one. Yeah. If you need extra, cut your muslin. Just cut it. And then add a little piece of fabric behind. Okay, so here's my tighter one. So if I wanted to, get my front waist to, because it was doing this, right? It was pulling apart. I would just go like this. Snip, 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 snip. And yeah, I would have to deal with it because I'm not adding a dart. You can't just add fabric like that without dealing with it down there. Just like I showed you when we adjusted the top half of the pattern and the lower half of the pattern, you're gonna have to do that, right? But just to get it on the person, right? Add a little piece of fabric back there. Split your difference. Split meaning put half of it here, half it on this one. Pin it or zigzag it on, whatever you want. Whatever you want. Just get it on there and then check it. Okay? Now when you're doing areas like this, what I tried was first I flattened the seat and I snipped it. Then I wanted more girth, so I narrowed my seam allowance. Here's my old seam allowance. Here's my new one. That gave me a 1/2 inch across the back. Yeah, Louise, I find that is tricky because it does imply that having the actual fabric would probably be better, and that it does add kind of a bit of an expense to do that, but you're right. And but at the same time, Louise, I mean, you could, like I said, you could try and fit them on a rigid and then cut them one size smaller and see what you think. You have a lot of seam allowance on a lot of these. There's like 5/8 of an inch. That's 1 1/4 inch at each seam. That's a lot of fabric. But yeah, it is. So sometimes when I see good denim, I will buy like two yards, because a lot of companies only sell like whole yards, and then I get nervous and I'm like, oh, what if I need a little bit more? And then I have to buy that whole extra yard. Then I will have a little extra, but it does add up. It really does. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, yeah, cheap stretch, yeah. Yeah, and the other thing is that denims come in different weights because there's like a summer versus winter weight. And you kind of don't notice that as much until you're reaching for a pair of jeans and you're like, oh, these are so hot today. And then you realize how much heavier they are than that other pair that is a lighter weight denim. Because they can go between 8 and 12 and even like 14-ounce denims. And the higher the ounce, the heavier weight it is. I'm trying to think you can get fine stretch wovens, just like a lighter weight fabric to try. And maybe that's what you try and find. And then just remember, okay, that was a lighter weight fabric than denim, but it was stretchy. And then the percentage of stretch can be different too. Sewing isn't cheaper, is it? Oh, wow, Louise, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're serious about it, you're probably going to use the same fabric. I have a few pairs of jean shorts I used as muslins. And you know what? I hate wearing them. They look terrible. But I was like, oh, now I have some jean shorts for gardening in. How many gardening clothes do I really need, you guys? It's not like I live my life gardening. I garden once on the weekend. I really only need 1 to 2 gardening outfits if I'm doing it 2 days in a row and one's dirty or poison oaked, But if it's like on the farm, I would just wear the same outfit for a few days, and I would here except for poison oak, So, okay, so I didn't really fit my Dawn jeans, but I feel like I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a fuel to work on. And one of the things I wanted to do today, just as a fun thing, is I kind of want to try and get mine on the dress form. So just as a side thing, I'm curious, how accurate could I be in using my dress form to fit the upper portion of my pants. Oh, Carolyn, that's a great idea. Thank you. Do you find a lot of good fabric deals at estate sales? The full tummy with the zipper? That is a good question, Eliza. Let me make some room. Yeah, Sydney, right? Oh, and you know, this is perfect because it's Earth Day week. The other thing you can do is if you buy jeans that are a bit bigger than what you are making for yourself or a couple pairs at a thrift store, you can use that fabric. So Louise, that's another option. If you want, even if, or even stretch denim, right? That's another option too. Okay, let me make some room on my table and I'll show you the... Oh man, I got a mess. Don't I have the front traced out? Here we go. Nobody puts baby in a corner. I don't want my pattern pieces on the ground here. Oh, okay. Interesting. So let's say I added, see, I really think my hip line's a little low. I think my hip line is more like about right there, okay? So let's say we wanted to add the full tummy adjustment, kind of like the same thing I was showing with the full seat adjustment back there. So we're going to make our wedge to the seam line. We're going to snip up to it back here. So now we have that little pivot point, right? Okay. And let's say we added that much. Let's say we added a lot just to make it look different. We'll make it look really different. All right, and then let me find the pattern pieces. Actually, no, I just need this. So we're going to blend this line here. Like that. So we have our continuous rise here. And if we had done this on our actual pattern piece, we would do the same thing. We would blend that line. And then we're going to line this piece up and just transfer the markings. So like on doing a fly, there's usually a notch right here. I'm about to lose this tissue right here. There's usually a notch right here for your fly. And then she has one up here too. There's usually one for the basting stitch. Oh, it's not that I do it near the hip. It's just a good line to do it there. A nice straight line. You just need a straight line. You kind of want it in that tummy region there. And like I said, I think the hip line is just helpful because that is kind of where your tummy is. If it's full, it's kind of sitting near your hip because your hip's like here, right? And here's my tummy. The actual hip. Yeah, Kathleen, absolutely. You can take apart a pattern. You don't even have to take it apart. You can get one of these things. There's one linked in the description, needlepoint tracing wheel, but be careful if you go to Waywack and buy it, there says needlepoint and it's not. You need these little points, and then you can lay the fabric on. It's kind of tricky on the back pattern, but just do your best. And when you run your tracing wheel over the fabric, it creates dots. Like, you can't see this, but that's how I traced my pattern pieces. And then you just draw your lines and then add your seam allowance. No, it won't hurt, Nancy. No, it won't hurt because that's just a reverse stitch. Oh, no worries, Carolyn. Oh, I'm glad. You're welcome here. Yeah, you don't have to chat. It's nice when people do. It makes it really fun, and it's nice and interactive, especially if you have questions or you want to be like, that's wrong. I do that too. I roll them in towels. And she's in a climate like probably similar to Louise's where it probably takes a week to dry. That's how it was for me in Humboldt. Now it takes me 2 hours to block a sweater. All right, so yeah, Eliza, you want to put your full tummy adjustment in there and then transfer your markings. And I just use that pattern piece. So if you did it directly on the pattern piece, you're going to kind of want to pay attention to where those markings were. But in general, on the center front rise, you're going to be okay. I'd never heard of him until I had the stream, Melinda. So yeah, you'll just want to transfer those markings. Be like, okay, this is, and I obviously did not trace this pattern. There's my dotted line right there. So I did it really quickly. There we go. So if I line these up, here's that notch. Because basically what you want is you want to keep the integrity and the distance of the markings for the fly, that intact. So if you do your full tummy adjustment, I would do it below those markings or even at the marking. And then that way you don't have to mess around with any of these notches. And there's usually, like on the gingers, there's going to be a drill hole about like right on the 5/8 inch mark, which is basically the seam line. And it's like where you clip to it. So I hope that helps. But yeah, then you'll just want to blend that in a little bit. You can even use the pattern piece to blend it in if you don't have a ruler. These kinds of really micro things blending in, they're not going to be that impactful because this is the way to look at it. Remember when I was telling you the story about the pubic area being pretty much set for almost all women? Think about it this way. You're talking about a space that's about 2 1/4 inches wide, right? And I think it's like pubic bone to, is that what it was? Pubic bone to I can't remember what it was that they scientifically measured. Now, if you took that 1/8 of an inch that varied, or maybe 1/4 inch or whatever it was, and you made it a percentage of that 2 inches, right? So 0.125 divided by 2, whatever that percentage is. Now, if you put that same percentage on something that's 44 inches in circumference, then you might be talking. Maybe that is a little bit more significant. You know, it's more than 1/8 of an inch. You know, so I think that's the way. It's like in relation to the distance that we're talking about. So if you're doing like this little tiny bit of shaving here, you just added the length that your belly needs. So this is hopefully going to relax. And if you need some girth here, and also, you know, this grain line, you're going to carry it up here. Carry it from the bottom. Don't use that old one. That's what you're going to do. That's your new one. Now, if you need some girth here, and I would do it here. You don't really want to add it going this way. You want to add it here, or maybe the side seam. You can a little bit. I do sometimes. I'll add a little bit if I just need a tiny bit, you know. But yeah, I would, you know, cut here, move this section and cut here, move this section out, blend my side seam, and then now I've got more across the front. You can even do it equally. And remember, I would have my pocket piece filled in right here so that I have this nice uninterrupted space here, and I'm not worried about these style lines because we can add those back later using the pattern piece and kind of lining it up. And we're talking about a pocket opening. You can change the shape of that anyway. Maybe you want it deeper or wider. Maybe your hand's wider. Maybe you're always getting the exact same thing out of your pocket and you're so sick of, you know, catching your knuckle on it and dropping what's in your hand on the ground. Change it, you know. Oh, interesting, Nancy. I just saw that Andrea used the letter low for her pant. If any of you are subscribed to Sew to Fit on YouTube and you go to her community tab, she did a post. So you have like I have posts. It's almost like an Instagram post, but it's less interacted with. Like a lot of people don't see it. And on your phone, you kind of see it in your feed. You don't see it on a desktop. But on your phone, you'll see, or if you go to the community tab specifically of a YouTuber, and she has a comparison of her draft of her pant versus the one she drafted with letter low. It's kind of cool. I think that was really nice of her to do that, you know, and I wonder what she thinks, you know. All right. Oh yeah, I was going to do my own little experiment of, this is my smaller one, this is my big. We're going to put my bigger one on because my form is a little bigger. So I'm going to, I kind of still want to use this as a fit thing. So I'm going to just try and rip the seam out instead of cutting it. Because I was just going to like go cut. And then I was like, you know, let's be kind to our future self and not just cut that up. We could use this to fit on jeans. I didn't do I did the rise that way though, so. I think Andrea also has a pants fitting class, or maybe even it's part of her Patreon. She's very, very good at fit. She spent a lot more time than I have teaching it and thinking about it for other people. I spent a lot of time thinking about it for me. Okay, so I have to undo that to be able to get it onto my dress form, right? I'm so curious how this is gonna go. I feel like this is how the trend of turning jean pants into skirts happened. Someone was like, I'm desperate, I gotta put this on my dress form. They're big on here too. All right, so one thing we know is that I don't have the crotch pulling it down, right? I don't know why I keep thinking you guys are over there and I keep looking over there, sorry. So if, I kind of wish I knew, where was I putting this at? I don't think it was that high up, to be honest. But it must have been. Like, I don't feel like it was that close to my boobs in that picture, you know? So you'd probably want to figure out where you thought that was on you. So I don't have a rise. There's a divot right here. You can't see it, but there's like a little divot where my rise would go. And it is following that. So that's good. So we'll just pin it there and see what we think. Let's see. Where's my butt? So I think that this was a little tighter on me in the picture. So you see, like, what if I had just taken it out at the side seams here? Like we were talking about adding or just siding. I feel like what would happen if I kept just taking out the side seam and not at the back? I'd get, you know, this kind of weird little angle here. And I think that's why keeping your back kind of true with the grain line of the body, you know, here, and then taking it out more around here where you're mostly curved, you know. Oh yeah, that's cool, Nancy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So did she just recently get Letter Low? Or is it something she's used? That's so nice that you have someone that uses it, you know? That especially knows what they're doing with fit and how to relate it to other things, because I think that's so helpful. Yeah, I used to think like, why is everyone so into this person? I don't use that thing or whatever, like not sewing but other stuff. And then when I did find someone using something I did, like Procreate or whatever, I'm just like, oh, I do that too. You know, now I see it. A story of my life. There it is. This is me. This is my biography right here. Here's my booty, and I have no waist back here, but it's all right here. But look at that posture. I have very good posture. I've talked to my chiropractor about it. I feel like it would be so fun to know a chiropractor who is a sewist and knows a lot about fit. I would love to have that conversation and be like, yes, analyze me, you know, because when I started asking mine, I was like, so do I have a sway back? He's all, no. I'm gonna do my hips tilt. He's like, or my hip tilt forward. He's like, no. And he said, you know, one thing with you is that your hamstrings are really, really, really tight. And so, and that makes sense, right? Because that's what's happening, is it's curving back, right? If I pictured my hamstring doing that, it would shorten that distance back here. I think that's so fascinating to think about. Me too, Ray. Good job. So do I really like this right here? This is one thing I've been trying to think, like, all right, what about this right here? You know, I feel like I really need to tighten up the thigh. If I'm going to use this bigger size to fit my Dawn jeans, I need to make sure I have this in the right spot too. You know, you want your lines parallel to the floor and your side seam and your grain line perpendicular to the floor. You know, how tight do I want my jeans? Because I really don't need to be like, there's my belly. You know, like, we all know it's there already. I really don't need to show my jeans. I have one pair. This is what I don't like about stretch denim, is that in one of my stretch denim pairs, I feel like you do see my little like blurple there, you know? I think the only difference, Sydney, is if you're serging each layer of fabric first and then sewing together, then you have the added bulk of two seams with overlock stitching on them. But no, I do that a lot. I like to sew first because I get the seam on the seam line, and then I serge off the excess. As long as, because if you're going to serge your edges and you want to do that first, but your seam is still kind of far away from the serging, that might be less accurate. That being said, if you're talking about jeans, like you mentioned, Some sergers don't want to go through a few layers of denim. My serger. So if you're talking about like that rise where you have your yoke and your yoke is turned up, and then you know it's top stitched going up, that right there, that's 3 layers of denim on your yoke. And then if you're going to do your center back seam and you have your 3 layers at your yoke seam going, that's 6 layers of denim right there. That's a yikes for me. I'd have to do each rise separately and then do it probably. Yeah, right, Ray? Yep. Oh, I think she's just meaning the order. Oh, instead of just serging the seam. Oh, no, Malin's right. You're going to want, if you're just going to, you can just serge your seam and then go back and single needle it and do a seam on it. I think Malin's right. I thank you for asking that, Malin, because I kind of missed that part of her question. You're going to want that extra stability. Serger seams are not very strong unless they actually have the seam in it. So if you have a double needle and you have one needle set up as your seam. Exactly. The safety stitch. Thank you. That was the term I needed. Yeah, so when I sew wovens with my serger, I set it up as a 5-thread with a safety stitch. You can do 5-thread serging and you can do 4-thread serge with a safety stitch or something like that. Yeah, I would just sew your shirt together, Ray, in your sleeve, and then serge it afterward. If you don't want to change cones, that's what I would do. Especially if you're planning on using your serger with 3 threads for another project, and you don't want to have to like change it. That's what I would do. Ugh, black just doesn't look good on me, does it? I feel like I was having a really good hair day today too, but I look kind of funky today. Yeah, you can see, like, look at this right here. My shelf. You do, Nancy? Yeah. I think right now I have 4 threads, and that's what I use. I like wide. All right, so that was a pretty good start, don't you guys think? Kind of fascinated by using my dress form now. Now I think I'm gonna, how could I check this? I think what I'm gonna do is measure my high point shoulder to a point on the shorts when I'm wearing them, mark that, and then line up that spot on my dress form. Oh, thanks, Sydney. I wasn't looking for compliments. A surgery that can use, is there a surgery that can use 3 needles? No, it's just 2 needles. Thanks, Eliza. Eliza, how are you feeling about your pant adjustments? I know you're very interested in this and your 10-inch difference. Calling Ray out. I like it. I really want a pant form. And you know what I think I'm going to do is, I totally agree with you, Nancy. Also, for some reason, my phone is changing the word for, F-O-R, to faux, F-O-E, every time. You're just lazy. That's okay, Sydney. Sweatpants and knits for everybody. So Wednesday I'll be cutting out my Dawn jeans, and I will probably alter my jeans pattern before then, but I'll talk about what I did. I really wanted to give you at least an overview of all of the possibilities, but I really want you to just think about it as in, okay, we're fitting this part here. Whoops. We're fitting, I'm fitting this part above the crotch line here. And then, below I'm fitting, that's as tall as she'll go. Then I'm fitting the thigh, right? And then the twain that meet there, work on it. You know what, Eliza? I feel like you need a little bit of a pep talk. You're not working on it at all right now, right? So if you're not working on it, you haven't until now, and you're just like, I'm a little nervous. Even if you have to do 4 muslins, you're working on it. And that time is going to pass either way. So if you don't work on it at all, you still have those 4 muslins to face. So if you start now and you start doing your muslins, you'll be finished eventually and you're going to have a pant pattern. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, Rebecca, I think we are with you on that one. And you know, I recommend the free range slacks for that, and I think Pietra, that would be good. I'm just stretching. Yeah, and Eliza, I feel like I have more adjustments lately too, so I feel you on that. And I'm kind of torn, like Libya goes, what about the size in between these two? I think she has something there. Or what if I graded between sizes? And I'd like to really do a tutorial on how to do that. Because grading between sizes is actually pretty simple. I know I just say that, but it really is, because the lines are all there for you. If you're having to come up with extra sizes above and beyond what you have, I know that can be a little bit nerve-wracking though. Eliza, do you feel like the Mountain Views came in enough sizes to begin with though? Yeah, Libby, I think you're right about that. I think I'd like to see the size 18 on me too. I wish I had more of this fabric so it would be the exact same fabric. Oh, you can get away with some fun fabrics, Rebecca. That's kind of cool. Yeah, cool, Barbara. All right, and then there's we have a few new patrons, and the Tuesday folks, your monthly Zoom meeting, whoever picked Tuesday, and Barbara, I don't know if you've decided on a day, you picked all of them, but I gave you all 3 Zoom links. So just let me know which one you're coming to, so I have a head count and I don't ever get over that number, that 5, you know. But I think we have 3 coming to Tuesday right now. 10 a.m. Pacific. So, cool. All right. Thanks, you guys. This was fun. I was pretty nervous about it because I really want to do a good job, and I know there's lots of really great information out there. Sydney, it's not a shaping seam, so you can just overlap it and cut it out without it. All right, Barbara, cool. Thank you for telling me. The RSVP. Yeah, so Sydney, you don't have to have that. I actually don't mind it. I wasn't going to do it, and I kind of like it because it does stabilize the denim. Yeah, and I think she's added sizes now, Eliza, but I don't know if you really want to go back to that pattern, you know? Yeah, I understand that too. In fact, I think I almost think like the smaller size is less to fit, because adding is really obvious while taking away, I'm like, they look fine for trousers. You know, so yeah, I think it's just one of those things. Yeah, Sydney, yeah. Yeah, we tested it. There's no shaping in it. It's just aesthetics. And you can also leave it in and to hop stitch it in a matching color, and you probably won't even notice it. But almost all of us were like, you know, I kind of like this back seam. And most of us were kind of like, ugh, I don't really want to do it. You're welcome, Anne. I'm glad. I'm really glad. We'll get better at this. I'm going to get a pant form. I'm just going to start looking around. In fact, I'm going to tell my mom I'm looking for something like that, because even if it's a mannequin, it'd be nice if it was something I can pin into. But even a mannequin, it doesn't matter if she's not like a correct human in proportions, because then we have something to fit anyway. Yeah, I don't blame you, Eliza. I say start with something you really want and not something you have a grudge against. And then, you know, yeah, that's, I don't know. All right. I don't know why. I just don't like the lighting over here. I do not like looking at myself today on that camera. I'm so pink. People are like, what color are you? I'm pink. Maybe I don't know. Whatever. It's the black. All right, you guys. Well, good luck for those of you that might be diving into this a little bit. I'll be thinking of you. And just chip away at it. Allison, I literally clicked on that newsletter thing and was like, shut up. I loved all that linen. I know. I totally agree with you. Yarn dyed linen man. Ooh. Yeah, Eliza, wait till after finals week 2. Wait till after that. Just, Eliza, if you start chipping away at it, and this goes for everybody, if you start chipping away at this and you can't devote all your time to it consistently, leave yourself some notes and leave yourself in a good place every time you have to walk away from it. Even if it's just like, I just moved the this line to do this. Because you think you're going to remember what you did, and you might not. And I am definitely one of those. Oh, okay. I don't get those notifications, Sydney. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Patreon doesn't say, yo, all these people have been very naughty. They tell me, there's a tab, new patrons, deleted ones. And I don't even open the deleted ones because there is no pressure from me. Things change. You might get what you want from me and move on to someone. I understand that. You may need that extra money. Whatever. I don't look at that stuff. Now, if everybody undid it, then I'd be like, oh, I did something wrong. I should probably pay attention to some of it, but yeah. Yeah, Eliza, so just, and do it in manageable amounts. And if you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, think about it. Literally just walk away, and you might be reading a book later on, and it'll pop into your head, and you'll be like, oh, I really want to cut my scissors there, or I really want to pinch it in there, or this way. It'll just pop into your head when you're not so focused with all that pressure of getting your perfect pants pattern, you know? Yeah. Cool, Libby. Woo woo. I'm probably editing a video. I wish I was sewing. I am back in the camp of hardly doing personal sewing in my free time because I don't have any lately. I think that's hilarious. I mean, a lot of the clothes I make I get to keep, but Terry, hi. How are you? Are you cleaning out the garage? Oh, that is so much more important, honestly. Oh, wow. Really, Sydney? They weren't like, hello, you're missing out. You've got updates. That's funny. I think also having one more platform to manage, I do not blame people. They're just like, oh, Patreon, I don't want one more thing. And, you know, when you get the update by email, it looks so weird. Like, I get a few people's and I'm like, why does it do that to all of our emails? You know? Yeah, really, I do not get notifications about that, you guys. I never do. Don't worry about it. That stuff happens all the time. Yeah, like, don't be embarrassed. You guys are awesome, though. All right, so do I have anything else I want to add? No, I'll see you Wednesday. Let me look up my little book I made here. Yeah, I think I did pretty good. I stayed on task today. why I know this word I wrote right here, add back pocket, is wrong. Add back, draw lines in the pattern, add back. I did something there. That's so funny. That's a perfect example of when you write something and you didn't, that's not what you were thinking. Oh, wow, Melinda. That's awesome, though. Okay. Cool. Well, I didn't even have to get into my running shorts. And I've got like my casual Saturday clothes on today because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to be in my running shorts in front of everybody. No, never feel bad, Terry. It lives on forever. But we always love your input when you're here, too. It just happens. Sometimes, isn't it kind of, it's like when you forget about your phone for a few hours and then you're like, oh yeah, my phone. And then you're like, wow, that was so nice. Until you see your daughter's called you 4 times. Right, Sydney? I know. I don't like that. I've asked my bank before. I'm like, can you tell me all the things that I have that are automatic? And they're like, nope. How can you not tell me all the list of things that are monthly ongoing debits? So, you know? All right. Okay, guys. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we made it through. I'll be cutting these Wednesday, and I will have my pattern changes done, and I'll show you what I did and my muslin to fix those things. And maybe I'll do what Libby's saying, make the size in between just to have another comparison. I think that would be good. But I also am really skint on time right now. Yeah, right, Terry? I know, exactly. I do that too, especially because you don't want to drop it in the garage. That's the worst. You left it. Wow, Ray. Ooh, you rebel. What'd you do without your kitten updates? Cool. All right, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday. Good talk, guys. Good talk. I'll see you guys soon, and we'll get some jean sewing. I'm excited. Once I started looking at this, I was like, yay, jean sewing. So I might even get some white thread for contrast. I thought that'd be kind of fun. So right now it's not a contrast. All right, guys. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you then.